Brain structures
The
controlling,
frontal
yes.
lobe.
Ah,
The frontal lobe.
the frontal lobe. Who said that? Sarah
Yes,
Eckham.
sir.
Sarah Eckham.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes,
beautiful,
sir.
beautiful attempt. But I want you to be specific. I mentioned these structures at the last class. Yes, who else can try? Anyone else? Recall that I mentioned um, the brokers area, which is responsible for speech initiation. It is a structure found in the human brain. And then we have the Wernicke's area. Did I not mention Wernicke's area, which is responsible for what? Huh? Language comprehension, the ability to understand what a person is saying or talking, is as a result of the Wernicke's area in the brain. Also, we have learning and memory. This role is controlled by brain structures such as the hippocampus of the limbic system. Learning and memory. Every human being is capable of learning and memorizing what they have learned. All right. Then we have sleep and alertness. We have brain structures controlling sleep and wakefulness or alertness. Examples is the reticular formation found in the brain. And then we now have the brain stem. If you read about the physiology of the brain stem, you see how all of these things helps to regulate sleep and alertness. All right. We also have recognition of faces and objects, the ability to recognize. You see Augusta, you say, oh, this is Augusta. You see Vivian John, you say, oh, this is Viviane. Uh-huh. You see Ebube, you say, ah, that is Ebube. You see your mom, you say, oh, this is my mom. You see a pen, you say, this is a pen. So the ability to recognize faces and objects are as a result of brain structures. All right, and all of these things are what we are going to study under neurophysiology 1. In fact, mainly CNS. Okay, but before we dive into the meat of the lecture, we now have to look at brain structures and their functions. Sorry, the organization of the nervous system. Organization of the nervous system. I've already taught brain structures and their functions. I think that was the first thing I did even before we did receptors. So, we now have to look at the aspects of neurophysiology, or you call that organization of the nervous system. The nervous system is classified into two main parts. You have the first part, which is known as the CNS, and the second part, which is known as the PNS. CNS is divided into two parts. You have the brain. I hope you are seeing the slide. And the spinal
Yes,
cord.
sir.
Can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. All right. And then the PNS is divided into two main parts. You have the efferent neuron, or you call that the motor neuron. And then you have what is called the afferent neuron or the sensory neuron. What is the difference between sensory and motor neuron? Yes? Yes?
Sensory neurons controls information, carries information, sorry. Then the motor neuron carries information from the brain to the body part.
The sensory carries information from where to where? A booby.
Sir,
Sensory neurons carries information from where to where?
from our body part to the brain.
Good. Good. Fantastic. I mentioned all of this during the introductory class. You guys forget things so quickly. At that class I said efferent neuron, also known as motor neuron, carries motor command from the brain to all our body parts, whereas sensory neurons, in fact the name alone tells you that it carries sensory information from the body parts to the brain. It is also known as the afferent neuron. Alright, going forward, this motor neuron is subdivided into two main parts, which are the autonomic nervous system and the somatic nervous system. The ANS controls involuntary movements, alright, whereas the somatic nervous system controls voluntary movement. You have done ANS in your 200 level when you did PIO 203. I hope that is correct. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. So, under the ANS, we are talking about two main wings, which are the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. So what I'm saying is that the autonomic nervous system is subdivided into two parts. These are things you have already done. And these two parts are the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. It is also made up of a third part, which is known as the enteric nervous system.